Hi, everyone. I love how Mildred opened that up. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you from wherever you're joining us today. Excuse me. So I have a PowerPoint. I hope you're able to see it on the Facebook Live. I will be looking down frequently so that I can check any of the comments or questions. So that's how I'll be monitoring the chat. So feel free to put in any questions or comments, and I'll be sure to get to them throughout the presentation. So as Mildred mentioned, my name is Rachael Lamson. I'm the Associate Director of International Admissions at Western New England University. In addition to being a full-time staff member, I'm also an alum, meaning I studied myself at Western New England University and graduated with my bachelor's degree in political science and Spanish. So I'm really excited to talk to you today about the application tips, scholarships, and a quick overview of the visa process. Something to keep in mind is that all of the photos throughout this presentation are photos of Western New England University's campus. So even though I'm talking more generally about tips for applications and finding scholarships, I do want to highlight some of the distinctive features of Western New England University. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so when you're considering where you want to study, there's a lot to think about. I know that there are over 4,000 institutions in the United States, so choosing where you want to go, it can be an overwhelming process. What I always recommend students do is to apply to as many schools as you'd like. The majority of schools actually have application fee waivers, so if you don't have access to that, you can always reach out to the admissions office and say, I'm really interested, I'd love to receive an application fee waiver, so you don't need to pay that application fee. So apply to as many schools as you're interested in, unless you have your eye on one specific school, then of course apply directly to that school. But this first tip is really to help you kind of look internally and look inside and ask yourself why you're applying to a particular institution. So for example, if you're interested in Western New England for its small class sizes, its high ranking in business and engineering, its geographic location, you can showcase your knowledge about those distinctive features in your application. You can include that in your personal statement. You can ask recommenders to put some of those distinctive features in their recommendation letter. So really have a good understanding of why you're applying to a particular institution, and then showcase your knowledge of those programs in your application. Carefully review the application requirements. So we get a lot of questions from students about what's required to apply to Western New England University, and everything is outlined right on the website. If you're ever confused about something, you can always reach out and ask. I think that's one of the best tips that I can give you is you can always reach out to admissions counselors and ask clarifying questions, but make sure you fully understand what it is that's required. For example, proof of English proficiency for international students is required unless you meet certain exceptions. So when something says required, it usually means it is required. It's not optional or preferred. Otherwise, the website would say optional or preferred. You can also submit documents not on the list. So for example, a recommendation letter is not required for admission for our undergraduate programs. But if you want to strengthen your application and really showcase your commitment to applying to the university, you can always submit documents that aren't on the list. Finally, know your deadlines and communicate extension requests if needed. Again, always reach out if you have questions about when an application deadline is due. And if you need an extension, I know at Western New England, we can certainly honor those extensions we can be fairly flexible with it. So definitely communicate to us. And then this last one, I added this actually after having worked in this job for a few years, because I found that some students would put, they would make one personal statement or one letter of recommendation and send it to multiple institutions, but they would forget to change the name of the institution. So if we're reading an application and the personal statement says, I'm interested in your university, Harvard University, then I know the student has applied to multiple institutions. And of course, that won't harm your application, but for more selective institutions, just be careful that you are changing the names on your personal statement and letters of recommendation. So a few more application tips. Carefully consider your recommenders. I think this is especially important for graduate students. If you are applying to an engineering program, for example, see if you can find a recommender who has worked with you in an engineering capacity before. It can either be a faculty member, a supervisor, or someone who can really speak to your academic ability. You can always get in touch with alumni or current students at the university. So if you have any questions or if you want to understand what it was that those students did to be successful throughout their application process, you can always get in touch. I already mentioned asking about a fee waiver, code, and rolling admission. And the best advice, I think, really when you're writing your personal statements and you're communicating with your admissions counselors or alumni or current students is to just be authentic, be yourself. We want to understand why it is that you want to attend Western New England University or any university. So you can communicate that through your application. Let us know more about you. What are your interests and what's your academic or professional background? And as always, you can always reach out to the admissions department for feedback. So with that in mind, I just wanted to showcase our application checklist at Western New England University. So students need to submit an online application. Secondary school transcripts and scans are accepted. So we typically look for a 2.5 GPA on the 4.0 scale for undergraduate programs and a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale for graduate programs. I mentioned proof of English proficiency before. Again, this is a requirement for all students, but there are certain exceptions that we can make. For example, if a student has lived in a country where English is their primary language, or if they've attended any college classes in the US where they've received a certain grade in an English class. So make sure you pay attention to what's required for English proficiency and if there are any exceptions to TOEFL, IELTS, or the standard Duolingo exam. A personal statement. We are a test optional school, so the SAT and ACT exams are optional. You do not need to submit them for undergraduate programs or graduate programs. Now, if you're interested in grad programs, we do ask for recommendation letters, a copy of your resume, and then if you're interested in business or arts and sciences, we'll also ask for GMAT or GRE score. What's great is that for our College of Engineering graduate programs, we do not require a GRE score, so that can take that barrier out of the way for you. And then after you've been admitted, you'll submit financial documentation, which means affidavit support and bank letter. So again, just a general tip, when you are talking to admissions counselors or you're looking on the website, make sure you have a full understanding of what this list entails and how you can send that to the institution. So understanding costs, this is the scholarships and cost piece of the presentation. So when you're researching schools, make sure you fully understand the cost of attendance. Some university websites will just list the tuition and then perhaps room and board as a separate expense, or perhaps health insurance or personal expenses are listed as another expense. So again, always reach out and ask if you don't understand what the total cost is. But generally speaking, universities in the US, they do have tuition, room and board, and other personal fees either listed on their website or in your admissions letter. So again, make sure you understand the breakdown of that cost. Unfortunately, there are very few schools in the United States that will give 100% fully funded undergraduate scholarships. This is a question we receive all the time, and I wish I had a better answer for it, but unfortunately, students at Western New England, they can typically receive about 50% of their tuition in scholarships, but again, there's very few schools that have fully funded scholarships for undergraduate students. I mentioned financial documentation before, and this is your affidavit of support and your bank letter. Students will submit this after they've received an admissions decision, and the breakdown will actually be different than what the students will pay once they get to the university, but it's important to understand how we come up with that cost. Now, this is a federal government requirement that students submit proof of funding in order to receive their Form I-20. So at Western New England, we do require students to show proof of funding that includes the cost of tuition for 9 months for one academic year. So the cost of tuition, the cost of room and board, and additional fees, which covers, again, health insurance, books, and personal expenses. We then deduct the scholarships that you've received, and that's the full amount that you'll need to show on your financial documentation. Students will find out their merit scholarship in their acceptance letter. And after that point, we will reach out to the students to explain to them the breakdown of that cost. But again, make sure you understand the total cost. If you're looking for fully funded scholarships, look very, very carefully to see if you can actually find them. And then always reach out to your admissions department if you have questions about the breakdown of the amount you need to show on your financial documentation. So I wanted to showcase some external scholarships because in addition to Western New England scholarships or any university scholarship, students are encouraged to look externally. So that means you can apply for scholarships through your home government, the US government, private loan servicing companies, private agencies. So I've listed just a few on the screen. The Fulbright Student Scholarship Program, Fulbright Foreign Student Scholarship Program, excuse me, is for graduate students. And the application process is typically about a year in advance. So if you are interested in, let's say, fall 2022, apply as soon as possible. This is a scholarship that's run through the US Department of State. And I've linked the website there as well if you're interested. The US Department of State Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs is also a great resource. The Mandela Washington Fellowship, I'm not as familiar with this one, but again, the link is there for you to check out. And then Education USA is another great resource, especially for undergraduate students, for helping them find financial aid opportunities. And then I mentioned your local government. So check with your US Embassy or consulate in your home country, the Ministry of Education, and also talk to other students who have gone through this process. If you know of anyone who's currently attending a university in the US, ask them, which scholarship programs did you apply for? How did you help fund your education? So I'll talk about the visa process very quickly. It can be a little overwhelming, but my biggest advice for students is to plan early. If you're interested in fall of 2022, you can start as soon as possible with receiving your acceptance, submitting your financial documentation, receiving your Form I-20. So always plan at least a few months to have everything ready for your visa interview and then have everything ready for your arrival in the United States. These 6 steps is just a really brief breakdown of how it works. So the first step is that you'll receive your acceptance to a US institution. So that, for example, if you're admitted to Western New England University, you'll receive an email that says, click here for your application status update, and then you'll see your admissions letter. As I mentioned, we will then reach out to you to show you the amount that you'll need to provide on your financial documentation. You'll submit that to the university. And then the university's responsibility is to issue your Form I-20. That's for full degree seeking students. The Form DS-2019 is for exchange students. So I don't believe we have any exchange students on at the moment, but the Form I-20 is the most important document that you'll receive from the university. You'll then pay the SEVIS I-901 fee and schedule your visa interview. You'll prepare for your appointment and collect all the necessary documents. That includes your acceptance letter, your financial documentation, proof that you've paid the SEVIS I-901 fee, and any other necessary documents that the embassy requires. And then the final step is to attend your visa interview and receive your outcome immediately. If you're at your visa interview and you don't receive the outcome, make sure you follow up and you ask them, because the consular officer should provide a decision at the end of your visa interview. So again, that was a really brief overview of the visa process, but I'm happy to answer any questions or revisit this topic. We also have really helpful videos on our website, which walks students through. If you don't want to, read all of the documents, if you want to just watch quick videos on the visa process, you can always look at the website. So I wanted to pause. I'll see if there's any questions right now. Doesn't look like anything's come in, but I've given you some application tips, overview of scholarship opportunities, and a brief overview of the visa process. I do want to take 5 minutes to talk about Western New England University. So if you are interested, the next few slides will just be a brief overview of the university. And again, you can always reach out to me if you have questions about the institution, or if you just have general questions about application tips, scholarships, or the visa process. So Western New England University is based in Springfield, Massachusetts. You can see on this map right here, we're about an hour and a half away from Boston and about 3 hours away from New York City. So it's an excellent geographic location. The picture on the PowerPoint, this is of downtown Springfield. So even though we are located in Springfield, which is the third largest city in Massachusetts, our campus is very residential, very suburban, and students really enjoy the US campus feel, where they can feel very safe and secure in our campus environment, but travel into the larger cities on the weekends if they want. We do experience all 4 seasons here, winter, spring, summer, and fall. And there's a lot to do in the area. We have a lot of local attractions. You can see Six Flags, the Basketball Hall of Fame, Dr. Seuss Museum, and so on. And finally, we are a private university. We were founded in the year 1919, but we became a university in the year 2011. So a little bit about the academics. We do have smaller class sizes. We are ranked by US News and World Report in the top tier of regional universities in the North. We also just received a high ranking this past year as a top 100 engineering program in the United States, which is really exciting because, as I mentioned, there's over 4,000 universities in the US. So to be ranked as a top 100 engineering program really speaks to our faculty's dedication to the program, our high accreditations, the placement rate for students after they've graduated. And you can see the next point is that we were ranked #1 in Massachusetts and #5 in the nation for preparing graduates for the job market. We have quite an interdisciplinary curriculum, so students can choose from classes in our College of Business, Engineering, Arts and Sciences, our College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, and our School of Law. And student life on campus, this is very important, right? You've gone through the application process, you've been admitted, you have your visa, and you're planning to arrive in the US. So what can you expect at Western New England University? So we do have under 4,000 students total, about 2,500 undergraduates, and a very diverse population. Our students come from approximately 27 states and 30 different countries. And we do guarantee on-campus housing for all of our international students. There are 11 residence halls of various styles, and the high majority of our students do live on campus, making it a very residential experience. It's a great way to make friends, really immerse yourself in the campus community, and we do have housing available for graduate students as well. Once you're on campus, you can enjoy a lot of activities, events. We have over 60 clubs and organizations, and lots of men's and women's varsity sports. This is a picture of Spirit. This is our Golden Bear mascot at one of our football games a few years ago. So because you can't come to one of our actual campus tours, I do always recommend that students go through one of our virtual tours. It is led by a live student ambassador, so you can ask questions about their experience at Western New England. You can zoom through some of the classrooms and some of the residence halls. You can see the link on the bottom of the screen is where you can find that virtual tour registration form. And that's all that I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me via email. I've also listed my WhatsApp number below. And at this time, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat or again, reach out and I'm happy to help. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you on campus soon. So I don't see any other questions coming through, so I will end the live stream. As always, reach out if you have any questions. I'm always happy to help. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.